Okay, so this is using Canvas, but before I'll show you how to make your own questions, I want to show you how to import because there's a million questions out there. If you click on Commons and you can search up in Commons, other teachers have created entire classes. So I searched physics. There's an entire physics class I could use if I wanted to. However, there are also questions. So if I look for acceleration and I search for quiz, I can click on that quiz, and this might be a really good quiz. And I can look through, see if I like it, and if I do, I can import that quiz into my own class, however many classes I need to. All right. All right, so now let's talk about how to make actual questions on your own. There's a whole lot of different types of questions. I'm just going to show a couple different types. The first one I'm going to show is just a basic multiple choice. So first we go to the quizzes. We create a new quiz. I'm going to do the new quiz. If you're new to it, you might as well just use the new one. Okay. And here you can name it. There's going to be parts where you can assign it to just specific people. You can have it for set times. You can have it for being a time quiz, whatever you need to do. All right. So that's just the title. I'm going to press the plus button to choose a type of quiz I want. And for this one, I'm just going to do a multiple choice quiz. And I'm just going to copy from this other quiz I have. And so I'll just copy and paste. If you have an old quiz, it's usually easy. You can just do that. The check mark's going to be the right answer. You have the option of actually, shuffling all your questions, shuffling your answers. So you have these. You can even put a little comment. You see next to the trash can. You can put comments if they do one of the other answers. You can give some feedback to it. So there's a lot of ways you can use this just as feedback as well. And then if you have too many questions, if you have too many options, you can click answer and add more options. You can subtract by hitting the trash can. You can change what the right answer is right here. Here's some of your other options, so you can shuffle all the choices. You have outcomes if you want to align it. It showed item banking. I'm going to show that in the next question. Next, we're going to do a formula question because I like those. So, formula question. We're going to I'm just going to copy and paste the question I have. Now, what I have to do is I have to replace the actual numbers with variables. So I just give it a name in here. Okay, now I'm going to copy the entire question, and so I'll just copy the words, copy everything into it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace all my numbers I'm given with variables. Okay, so let's look. See that value, I can do any variable and it can be more than one letter, but this 5 I can replace. I'm going to find the little backwards apostrophe, which is usually in the top right corner or top left corner of your keyboard. So I'm going to put E for that variable, and notice it, and again it's going to be in the top, usually under the escape key, and then I'm going to have another one, W. So there's another variable, and see how I'm having them down here. Okay. I'm going to have T for time. So I'm going to replace the time I have with T as a variable. Okay, and every time you put them in, they pop down below. Now I could change it to more decimal numbers. I could have them as whole numbers right now. The more decimals I put there, that gives more options as well. Okay, and then all you have to do, and now I can also give a range. Okay, so if I want to have a different range for those values, I can do that. So I can move along and especially if you need more control over one value being greater than the other, or the numbers need to be realistic, you can change these values along as you go. All right, so now I'm just going to finish that. And now let's go down the formula. So there's obviously you have huge functions. I'm just doing basic formulas, but you can search, and they have sine, they have obviously you can do squaring, you can do all kinds of things in Canvas for the formulas, and there's a huge list I can help you find it, or you can just kind of Google it, but formulas for quizzes in Canvas. All right, so here's a number of solutions. I can change decimal places. So if it's going to be a value that's going to be, lower, then you can do that. Okay, you can change your percentage error. I like kind of about 3%. 1% can be good, but sometimes kids can round a little bit further away. I'm going to do 5%. It doesn't really matter. But, it gives it so that they can be within a certain range. Okay? Notice I put the percentage in and didn't take it. I don't see the percentage off to the side. So I made a mistake there with, I think, putting in that percentage symbol. Didn't read it properly. Okay. You can have a calculator. I've not messed around with this. I just saw this recently with the new one. So you could choose scientific calculator. But this says you want the quizzes to be one at a time. Now, here's item banking. So you can create these questions, and you don't want to just keep adding to them, or just constantly creating them on your own. You want to be able to bank them. So later, I'll show you, but you can just bank it and use them for other classes and use them for a final exam. You can do them as retakes as well, and when you do them as retakes, they won't be the same numbers. They'll be different numbers. Okay, now we're just going to do a matching. So one more type of quiz they have on here. You can add pictures. So if you have a JPEG image of something that you want to use and match things up, you can do that as well. And I'll let the spell checker fix me later there. Okay. So I insert an image. Okay, I can drag that image directly in. So if I have a file, I just drag it directly in there, upload it. So I click import, and there we go. I have some options. Okay, so now down below, I can match them. Now I am making these as letters, but they could be words, they could be anything you need to match up. So you could do matching with anything. I'm just going to make mine letters, but it doesn't have to be letters like a multiple choice thing. You can make it whatever you want to match up the answers. So again, the banking, and there's a lot of other questions out there. So if you have a question, let me know, and I can mess around with it too, and we can try to do it together to see what it's like. But the banking is going to be very helpful as well. I allow my students, when they use Canvas, to do retakes, and then there's options for doing an average or the highest score, how many retakes they're allowed. But the nice thing is every time they do a retake, if it's a formula question, they will have completely different numbers and answers. But it does all the calculation for you, so you don't have to go back and recreate another test or figure out which version they have. It'll be the same type of question, but the same formula, but it'll be completely different numbers. So it saves a lot of time for you. All right, so we're almost done copy and pasting all these. And the matching, and you can add if you see down below, you could add an extra distractor. I don't do this in this problem. But you could add a distractor. Okay. Item banking, again, you could do aligning to outcomes for targets. You could do your item banking. You could shuffle the questions around. And that's about it for how to do a quiz here. Those are the three. So I did matching, formula, and multiple choice. Oh, and also you can change the number of points that you get. Okay, one last part to the quiz I want to talk about is under settings. From here, you can have those set time limits. You can shuffle your questions if you want, if you don't want it to be in like a certain progression. Definitely shuffle in your answers. That's great. You can do a student access code if you wanted to set something up with a little bit more security. I haven't done that before, but you can. Time limits, there you go. You can change it so that they're only given so much time to take a quiz. This one, filter and IP addresses. That could be helpful if the students are taking it at school and you want to make sure that someone's not going to end up logging in and take it from home. If you had like a bigger or a longer open period for students to take it, but you want to make sure they're taking it from school. But I'm guessing that would be a little bit more higher end. for figuring IP addresses. Obviously, you can allow a calculator, so you could have that set right away. The one multiple attempts, so this is pretty good because you can choose for it to be the highest score. You can choose for it to be the average or the latest. So you can allow that. Allowed attempts, you can have limited. So sometimes what I'll do is, with my engineering classes, usually they only get 3 attempts. Okay, so I could have that. But I don't want my students to take the quiz immediately, find out what they got wrong and take it right back again. So I always want to have a waiting period. So sometime in the old version, I wouldn't allow attempts at first and then I'd open it up. I can come back and change these settings later. But if you have a waiting period, that's pretty nice too. So you could have that set up. So that's a new function that I haven't seen before on it. And restricting student result view. So I guess you can, if you don't want them to know what they got on their score, I guess that's an option. So there are some more things that you can look at and play around with. Reports, I've not messed around with these reports. Moderating, you can do this while the class is taking it. You could actually have the class, you could see what's going on, where everybody's progress is. All right, that's it.